The Public Safety Committee is now called to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Alderman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Vaccaro. Present. Alderman Cone. Alderman Arnowitz.
Here.
Alderwoman Hubbard. Present. Alderman Kotar. Alderwoman Spencer. Present. Alderman Muhammad. Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Chairman Kennedy.
Here.
President Reed. Here. 8 present. You have a quorum.
Please excuse Alderman Muhammad, Kotar, and Cone. They asked to be excused.
So noted.
We have several items on the agenda today. We will first take up Resolution 211, which deals with the Prop S dollars. I've sent quite a bit of information out about it. Were there any questions? Now, I know you need to recuse yourself on this. Alderman from the 27th, not going to be able to vote on this.
Okay.
Okay. I need a sheet with the names and members. Alderwoman Spencer, you had something?
I didn't. Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to thank again the United Way and all the folks that helped us come to the decision, the list that we came up with. We went through a fairly extensive process, and I'm grateful for the participation of the United Way and other folks who helped us.
Okay. With that, we could entertain a motion for the adoption of Resolution 211.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 211.
Second here. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 211 with the exhibit. Any questions on the motion? If not, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Cone. Alderman Arnowitz.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderman Kotar. Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderwoman Boyd. She has to say present.
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 Chairman Kennedy.
Aye.
President Reed. 7 aye votes, 1 present.
By your vote, you sustain the motion. Thank you very much. We will now take up Board Bill 212. President Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Board Bill 212 is a board bill concerning a pay increase for the Sheriff's Department. I have with me Tom Shepard, Chief of Staff, who's been working with the Budget Director and others in the Sheriff's Department to get this issue ironed out. The issue is that there are a number of vacant positions, and there were some reclassifications done in the current budget, but it's not reflected in the pay ordinance. And so from there, I'll let Tom take it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Shepard?
Good morning, committee. I have copies. I just wanted to get copies of the board bill with the, we have marked in bold the things that are being amended from the previous ordinance, just in case somebody wanted to know, because
I am back. Thank you.
and what's being changed is just the 2 grade levels for deputy level 1 and 2. It's being changed to 12. In the previous ordinance 70053, those grade levels for those 2 positions were 10 and 11. And what this board bill is doing is repealing Section 2 of, and I have a correction, some amendments for the board bill, because what it's actually doing is repealing not Section 2 of 69190, but Section 2 of 70053, because that's the most recent pay ordinance for the Sheriff's Department. So wanted everyone to have a copy since, we're amending an ordinance. I wanted to, have in bold what was being change from the previous ordinance, and it's just those two grade classifications of deputy sheriff level 1 and 2. If
The ones in bold?
Yes, there's two, the numbers are in bold, the actual title's not in bold because it's, it's not changing. I guess I could have put it in bold, but the only thing that's changing are the actual numbers, the level numbers, those two.
What's bold on here is senior deputy and deputy sheriff level 1.
Oh, well, then that's a mistake.
That's a mistake. It should be,
Yeah.
so it should be deputy sheriff level 1.
It'd be deputy sheriff level 1 and deputy sheriff level 2,
Okay.
which is on the next page.
Gotcha. All right.
So we'll get that corrected. But it's those two, the two final positions on the list are the ones that are being changed from 11 and 10. They're both being changed to 12, which will allow about 82 field positions, and there's another 8 vacant positions that are currently under a salary of $32,604 to increase to that amount. So what happened in current fiscal year 2018, well, you know what? How about this, Chairman? Mr. Chairman, I have some amendments. I would like to accurately reflect the ordinance that's being amended. Because it's not 69190, it's actually 70053.
That's being changed?
Yes.
How many amendments?
There are 3 amendments. There were 3 sections of the board bill where the previous ordinance number is referenced. So I have 3 different amendments correcting that to put the correct ordinance there.
Each one is so you're changing,
Yeah, the ordinance number is reflected in line 2, line 6, and line 7.
right.
That should all be ordinance number 70053 and nothing else, because that's the most recent sheriff's payment ordinance. And I have I can, you want me to pass them all out at once or one at a time
We can pass them all out at the same time,
and vote on them separately?
yeah, and we'd have to vote on them since you
Yes,
have
sir.
separate amendments.
Yes, sir. Here's
Well, I think we need to make a motion to put the
oh, I'm sorry.
bill in front of us. That's Board Bill 212. Do we have a second? Second. Been moved and seconded that we place Board Bill 212 before the committee. Any questions on the motion? If not, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll? We had a present, so.
Alderman Boyd?
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro? Alderman Cone? Alderman Arnowitz? Alderwoman Hubbard? Alderman Kotar? Alderwoman Spencer?
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad? Alderwoman Boyd? Chairman Kennedy?
Aye.
President Reed? 8 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion. So we can go on to amendment number 1.
Sir.
So amendment number 1, what does that do? Page 1, line 2 is what changed from 69190 to 70053. That's all that is that it changes.
Yes.
Just that ordinance number.
Yes.
Do we have a motion for amendment?
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adopt amendment number 1 to Board Bill 12. Any previous roll? Any opposition? Any opposition to previous roll? If not, by your vote, we've adopted amendment number 1. Amendment number 2. There you go. Amendment number 2, what does that do? Page 1, changes line 6 from, what is that, from ordinance number 69429 to the same number 70053, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Amendment number 2?
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adopt amendment number 2 to Board Bill 12. Any discussion on the motion? If not, there's been a request for previous roll. Is there any opposition to previous roll? Seeing no opposition, by your vote, we have adopted amendment number 2 to Board Bill 112. So amendment number 3. Thank you. Okay, amendment number 3 changes what, page 1, line 7, from 69190 to 70053. That's correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then, is there,
I'll make a motion, we adopt amendment number 3 to Board Bill number 212.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded that we adopt amendment number 3 to Board Bill 12. There's been a request for previous roll.
Alderman Muhammad just stepped in. Does he want to be on the roll?
We'll put him on the roll. There's been a request for, there's opposition to previous roll.
No, well, there's an
No,
opposition.
there's opposition to previous roll. I'm just making sure he's informed. No discussion on the motion. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderman Cone, Alderman Arnowitz, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderman Kotar, Alderwoman Spencer,
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad, Alderwoman Boyd, Chairman Kennedy,
Aye.
President Reed, 9 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion. That takes us back to, so now it's Board Bill 212 as amended?
Yes, sir. So just a little history on well, not history, but, so ordinance 70053 was the latest ordinance to pass relating to the pay of the sheriff office. And what this board bill would do is repeal section 2 of ordinance 70053 and change the grade of the deputy sheriff's level 1 and 2 from pay grades of 10 and 11 to pay grade of 12. And so what this is doing is at the beginning of this budget year, or prior to the budget year, but included in this budget was a reclassification of some positions in the sheriff's department, and which allows for a majority of this increase to fit within the current budget and to, for the most part, fit within next year's budget if they maintain the current salary savings that they have right now. Oh, I got some things I can pass out to the committee. I don't know, this, I have ordinance 70053 if anyone's interested in that. I apologize, give me 1 second here, committee. No. What I'm going to pass out now is a departmental salary list. And in this list, it has the employees, their current salary, and what their new salary would be under the proposed budget.
But according to the budget director, there's enough money in the budget to cover any changes.
There's enough money to cover the increases for this year, and for next year, and this has nothing to do with any pay increases that may occur, that this board bill doesn't address that. That just with these salary changes, for next year, if they have the same salary savings amount as they had budgeted for this year, which is $165,000, then it'll fit within the budget. There's currently for this year, their current salary, if they were fully staffed at the current salaries they're at right now, their salary spending would come in $190,000 less than what's been budgeted. So that's where the room is coming from for the majority of it. And that's, considering that if they were fully staffed for the entire year. Right now, they've been running at about 10% vacancies. Now, there's a fiscal note attached.
Right.
And what that fiscal note is comparing, and where those dollar amounts come from, is comparing what we're actually spending this year, considering the vacancies and everything. So the actual dollars that are being spent this year compared to next year, fully staffed, 100% of the time for the entire year at the new salary. So that's why you see that there's that number of 300,000 on that, but it's not considering the fact that they're spending under what they're currently budgeted by almost $200,000, and the fact that there's going to be salary savings from vacancies that occur.
Mr. President, did you have any other speakers?
So with that, what does that do to the numbers in terms of next year's projections?
Well, for next year's projections, if they were paid for the entire year at the new salary amount with no salary savings or anything, the necessary budget increase for salaries would be $56,000 plus fringe benefits and insurance and stuff like that, taxes. But that would be considering that there would be no salary savings input into the budget line item. This year, there's a salary savings amount of $165,000 in their budget, which they're making, and this year they're going to completely underspend by over $400,000.
And then year after year, is there an average of about 10%
The
vacancy?
10% vacancy is what they're experiencing right now.
That's not counting the 10% vacancy that they normally experience year after year because of attrition, open positions and that sort of thing.
Okay. All right, with that, we can open it up for questions from members of the committee. Alderman Boyd?
Not at this time.
Alderman Vaccaro?
I do. I talked to the budget director, and he said this will result in about a 4.5% increase to their budget. Now you're assuming that they're not going to replace these vacancies, and a projected $15 million loss in the city budget for next year. They're going to go through and sweep a lot of these accounts this year to take money back to balance the budget, because we have about a $10 million deficit this year. By doing this, the issue is going to become that even next year, their budget, and I'm sure the sheriff could speak to his own budget, if he's already sent it in, is going to be less, not more. We don't have the money. By doing this, you're saying that they're going to keep 10% of the employees, never hire them, and this will also result in probably having to let go of more employees. I'm going to vote for it, but I don't know how they're going to fit this in their budget.
Yeah, I think
Because their budget,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
their budget, yeah, they have salary savings this year and they get by. Next year, I wrote their pay bill, the one that we're referring to in here, and it gives a 2% raise to all the employees. Now, I don't know if the sheriff gave it to them, but this allows also for a 2% raise for all employees, where all the other city employees only get 1.5%. And by doing this, with the projected loss in their budget for next year, not just them, almost every department. I mean, I'm already hearing from departments already, they're cutting everybody because of the projected 15. So you're assuming that he's not going to hire those 10% in positions. You're assuming his budget's going to remain the same when we're pretty positive it's going to go down. So this will result, and I just want to be on the record, because it will result in people having to be laid off. Because this will raise their cost of doing business by 4.5%. In this year, yeah, you're right. It won't affect anything this year, but next year, good luck.
Yeah, okay. So this bill, whatever raise they end up getting next year is not, we're not addressing that
I understand.
in this board bill.
But-
That's
but
something
it's a
that's
cost.
codified.
But it's a
I
cost
think it's gonna be a cost, yeah,
of another
citywide.
2%.
Yeah,
So
citywide.
1.5 citywide, 2% in the sheriff's budget. So you're going to have that and a projected 4.5, 4 point, I think it was 4.1%. If Paul Payne's here, he can clarify it, but it's going to result in about a 4.5% or 4.1%, a little over 4% increase in their cost.
Yeah, but
A decrease in their budget plus the 2%.
that'll occur in next, whether or not they get a raise and all of that'll occur in next year's budget process
I understand.
But for this
I
board
get it.
bill,
For this year, they're fine.
no, or
For
even just,
next
just
year-
considering just this board bill going forward, if they maintain the same salary savings amount that they had budgeted for this year, it's not gonna cause an increase in their budget. What will be causing an increase in their budget would be the raise, which was codified in the previous
I
board
wrote
bill,
it,
which
so
we
I'm
can't
very
affect one
familiar.
way or another.
No, I'm very familiar with that one, but they're still going to have a salary increase. You're assuming that they're not going to hire the positions that are still vacant, because that means they're not hiring more sheriffs, and my understanding they could use more. You're not allowing for the fact that the budget next year isn't going to be the same as this year's, it's going to be less. Because they're projecting a $15 million deficit next year.
Yeah, They don't have to maintain the same vacancy rate that they have
No, so
this year.
they-
They just need to have the same salary savings. Their vacancy rate is resulting in a greater savings than what was budgeted in the budget for salary savings. Their vacancy rate now is, is even
I
much more,
mean-
because they'll be underspending, I think, over $400,000.
I'm just
This
saying,
year.
I just want to be on record as saying, I'm going to vote for this, but all I can say is good luck, because you're going to have to let people go. We can make everybody sergeant. Why don't we just eliminate 12 and let's just go to make everybody a sergeant? The problem is you have to deal with your budget.
Yeah.
And you're going to have less of a budget this year than you had, next year than you had this year. Yes, it fits into this year's budget without any, because their budget has it in there this year. It won't have it next year. I just want to be on record as saying this will result in losses of sheriffs.
Yeah, I mean,
We can,
Okay.
Yeah, so that was all. I'm just
Okay.
going to be on record.
Alderman Arnowitz? Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we know the money's in there for this year's budget to do it, and then next year it could be over, but I think typically the sheriff's office over years has always been short deputies. So your biggest part of your savings would be there by not filling them, and they haven't filled a lot of positions, I know, in the last 5 or 6 years. So, I mean, and that comes under the sheriff's office. I mean, they should be able to figure out their budget next year and be where they're supposed to be. So, that's all I wanted to say. So if it comes to the point where if you have to cut out the 1.5%, 2% raises for next year and a couple other things, you just have to do it. but I would think that they could get their budget together in plenty of time and make sure they're under that criteria.
And under this departmental salary sheet here, those two final numbers on page 6, it's a difference of about $250,000 where the salaries are being increased. Well, they have 190 of that already budgeted in this year's salaries.
Okay.
You know, and that's after the $165,000 salary reduction. So there's, you know, vacancies,
Right.
yeah, they'll probably end up underspending whatever they budgeted for next year, just like they are this year.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Tom.
Alderwoman Hubbard?
Maybe I'm missing something here, but what's the current number of vacancies?
The current number of vacancies total is, I think 15, well, on this sheet, which was done in October, there was 15 vacancies.
Okay. And are we, it sounds like we are happy to have those vacancies, or like we're not encouraging recruitment. What's the whole premise behind that?
Well, this, I think, that's not the
I know
main thing
that-
that's
that's
covering
not
this.
what's before
That's
us
not
in
what's
the-
covering this, and that's not what's covering this increase for the most part. For the
Okay.
most part, they've already budgeted $190,000 over what they would pay if they had every position filled all year.
Okay.
So they budgeted in that room, and it, you know, passed in the budget most of the room necessary to do these salary increases.
Okay.
I think with the vacancies and everything this year, they're, instead of underspending just that 190,000, they're gonna end up underspending 400 and something thousand.
And-
So it's not depending on that high of a vacancy rate. I mean, there's gonna need to be some salary savings through vacancies and, you know, which are gonna occur just naturally without, you know, trying to shoot for a certain vacancy amount. But, yeah, so this is not necessarily depending on keeping the same vacancy rate they have right now.
And so the current vacancies, I'm just trying to like tap into what's really going on in the apartment. The current vacancies are being attributed to what? Is it like a recruitment situation, or people are qualified?
maybe
What is the salary?
The sheriff's probably could.
Okay. Would the sheriff be willing to speak to that?
We've had 25 people to leave this year, basically because they were not making the kind of salary that they wanted to make. We've had people that are very concerned about being in law enforcement, so we've had 8 people to leave and directly go to the St. Louis Police Department. And Proposition P has really hurt us. So like I said, we had 25 people last year to leave the department, and that's why those numbers have been way down. We're not trying to do that, but I'm sure with the rumors, and most of the rumors have been true, we're going to continue to have people leaving until we do something about the salaries.
Alderwoman Spencer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The way this is reading to me, it looks like, you know, the vast majority of our upper-level staff within the sheriff's department are staying the same in salary, and that we are looking to essentially raise up some of our lower-paid staff members to a little bit, with a little bit of a bump. I think I want to commend that aspect of this in a time when our country is moving towards greater disparity in wealth and distribution of wealth that favors the higher income earners. To address this in kind of an opposite funnel, I think is a good thing, rather than raising everybody up, addressing some of the folks at the bottom end of the pay scale first is a good thing. But I do want to touch on the issue of recruitment as we consider removing the residency requirement in the city and recognize that we have a lot of vacancies, over 100 vacancies right now in the city. I'd like to see our city move towards being able to get job openings out there with greater effectiveness and making sure that the vacancies that we do have are filled quicker than they are now. And with that, I'd like to also express a concern that we don't have a fiscal note associated with this bill.
There It was on the
Wasn't on
original
the bill
bill.
that I received.
I handed out in a copy with the bold, there should be one on there.
I have a, I only,
That he passed should be,
It should be on your desk.
that's it.
okay, I have two versions of the bill that I have.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I
Okay.
handed out one with the bold. And so if you I referenced that earlier,
Okay. So then, looking at the bill itself, it appears that we will have an increase. Okay, so the fiscal note states that there will be an increase of $150,000 for fiscal year 18. Is that, am I reading this correctly?
yeah, that's what was in the fiscal note if, and that's, okay, so that's if the bill would have passed by the end of the year. And then that is also saying an increase in current spending, not an increase in the budget or anything like that. Because they're spending way below budget right now.
It might be easier if we're discussing issues of the budget, that we have the budget director here.
He should, I thought he would be here. I've been in discussions with him, and so has Gerard. But, yeah, Gerard can come up with, but the number that's on there, the 306,000, like I had referenced that earlier. The 306,000 that's on there is an increase in what, and that's a comparison of the cash that we're spending right now, vacancies and everything, current salary, vacancies and everything, the cash we're spending right now compared to the new salary, 100% staff, the entire year. With fringes and everything. And so again, as far as the budget is concerned, they're already $190,000 under budget right now if they were full-time staffed 100%.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you.
Alderman Muhammad? Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one question, and maybe the sheriff will be best to answer it. What is the current pay rate in St. Louis County?
The current pay rate in St. Louis County for a St. Louis County Sheriff Deputy?
Yes.
I'm not exactly sure. I know it's more than what we make, for sure. Jim, do you know the current starting salary? I'm sorry, Alderman, we don't know the current salary, but I can tell you this. I know for a fact it's more than $27,000. We are the lowest paid in this area. The starting salary of $27,000 a year.
And just by looking at the breakdown of your salary budget, those who are making that base salary of $27,000, roughly they're seeing another $4,000 onto their paycheck. And so that's pretty much what this bill does,
Yes.
which is not a lot.
No, it's not.
No.
We're not trying to make
think
anybody
this is
rich,
long
but
overdue.
we want those guys to make an equitable salary. And I'm sorry I should have had that information for you,
Oh, no,
what
you're fine,
everybody's
Sheriff.
making around this area. But I know we are the least paid in the area.
I think this is a great bill, actually. I think we can sit and talk about numbers and budgets and breakdowns. At the end of the day, the city tosses around money every day to departments who don't need it, and now we have the chance to actually give higher wages to people who work the hardest in the city. I support it, and I applaud the president on his efforts and leadership for doing this. I will be voting for it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Alderwoman Boyd? Alderwoman Boyd?
Sheriff, could you come back up? Tom, thanks for the information that you gave us, and I guess I'm wearing two hats, because for me being in management, and I hear people say constantly, we have these positions and we can't get filled, but all I'm asking is, I don't have a problem with the budget and what you all are presenting, but I'm just asking that maybe you need to look at other ways within your department to bring them up in the 20th century so you can make more savings. Because I kept hearing Alderman Pecora saying the next year, you're going to be hit harder. But if your staff starts working now to start making it, streamline some things,
Sure.
to make it better, then the next year you won't have that problem.
And Alderman Boyd, you are exactly right. You know, I did 30 years at Ameren, in
Right.
the Treasury Department. I know how to count and manage numbers, and I guarantee you that we'll look at that budget and we'll be able to streamline. There are other ways to come up with that money rather
Right.
than just lay off folks. And I guarantee you, we can't afford it. We won't be laying off anybody in the St. Louis Sheriff Department, but there are other things that where we spend that we can probably cut back on. When I took office last year in January, we came in with a $90,000 deficit because we had 5 people to leave, and we had to pay those people out. We ended, I think Tom can attest to this, we ended in June of last year, not in the red, but in the black, even with coming in at $90,000 in the red. But that's because my staff and I, we worked, we cut corners where we could, and we were able to eliminate that deficit. We can do the same thing next year.
Right, and then as a city, we need to be more with technology. And so I think that helps departments save dollars also.
Yes.
Because I'm with Alderman Muhammad. We have some departments that has money thrown out the window. And then we have other departments as law enforcement that, you know, I just really feel that they need to be paid pretty close to the work that they're doing.
Thank you.
And so I applaud you all for trying to support the people that are there, and I understand about the low pay, but we just need to be a little smarter when we're looking at budgets.
And I agree. You know, Alderman, last year we had the riots. We had no gear at
Right.
all. We didn't go out and purchase riot helmets and shields, which we needed. We went all the way to Jeff City and borrowed stuff, and we borrowed stuff from all over the state. So there are ways that we've looked to save money, and we'll continue to do that. I know we can do it.
Okay.
Won't put that stress on the city. Thank you.
All right.
Well,
I
I
believe
sent
we're
the
ready to move
text
forward.
to the budget director. I think before I even hit send, he showed up down there. So
I
he's
think we're
fast. So if
ready.
anybody had any questions for him, but he and I did confer this morning, and everything I said, he agreed with, so.
I think at this point, we could entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, the first I want to say I kind of passed the first time around is
Oh, you did?
there's an expectation and an awesome responsibility that our deputy sheriffs have. They're expected to transport prisoners, are expected to support our judges, and I'm looking at some of the salaries, and I don't see how anybody could object to this. $27,000 a year, and you expect a person to carry a gun and have this awesome responsibility. I just think it's only fair. You know, $32,604 is reasonable a year. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we pass Board Bill 212 as amended, out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Been moved and, Mohammed. It's been moved and seconded that we pass out Board Bill 212 as amended with a due pass recommendation. There's been a request for previous roll. Is there any opposition to previous roll? Seeing no opposition by your vote, we have passed, you sustained the motion to pass out Board Bill 212 as amended with a due pass recommendation. Thank you. We have one other item, and that's Board Bill 97, Committee Sub. Do we still want to hear that, or you want to hold on? Alderman Boyd? Where's Joe? He's not in here. Maybe he got excited because he heard. I tell you what, we can hold it until, we will hold Board Bill 97 in committee. And with that, that completes our agenda for today. He's not in here. We'll pick it up next.